Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is for you, wherever you are. My name is Michael John, and I am here with my co-host, Dale Quigley, and we are Windsor, Ontario's own, the Paranormal Voice. And it is an absolute pleasure tonight to introduce our special guest, Reverend Michael J. Carter, there is an A to Z list of what hasn't Reverend Michael J. Carter done? What haven't you done? I'm going to get it real quick here. You are a longtime UFO contactee, but the proper term is experiencer, as you taught us at the UFO Contact Convention. Many of us, when you gave your lecture, that is the proper term, is experiencer. You have a book called Alien Scriptures, Extraterrestrials in the Holy Bible. That was March of 2014. That is the number one on Amazon.com's list of UFO related books. That's amazing. You also appeared on George Norrie's Coast to Coast radio show, George Norrie's TV show Beyond Belief on Gaiam Television, countless other TV appearances, including on the History Channel's Ancient Aliens series, as well as you've been featured on the UFO TV documentary, The Real 4400, and UFOs, The Hidden Evidence on the Travel Channel. Oh my God, you keep going here. I'll tell you what, instead, you got such a list. Let's get to this. Michael, welcome, and thank you so much for being here, first and foremost.
Happy Friday. We've been planning this since I saw you in Michigan, and it finally came true. And thanks for having me on, guys.
It's been an absolute pleasure and a journey to get us to this point. And I mean, me and Michael John ourselves, we look forward to talking to our guests each and every week. But since we met you, it's like I could not wait until we had you live and on the Paranormal Voice. So we want to thank you very, very much.
Yeah.
So let's just start it off. So could you tell us a little bit about how did you become a reverend? How about we start there?
Well, it's a great question. When I was younger, like much younger, like maybe preteen, I don't know whether it was a bleed through from another. I don't know, but I always knew that I wanted to be a minister. And at that time, I used the word priest. I didn't know. And I don't know why, but I felt comfortable in houses of worship, whether they were churches or mosques or temples, which I really didn't start really getting into until I moved to New York City. But I just knew. Now, as I got older, that idea of ministry broadened a bit because I had a career in the theater, which is being in front of people, giving a message. And at one time, I wanted to be a therapist, but I always knew that I would be in front of people, speaking, communicating, connecting with people, giving knowledge and wisdom. And so that's been the theme of my life, and that's how I got into it. As a child, like any child, I wanted to please my parents. My parents were very religious. My stepmother and my stepfather and my biological mother are. My biological dad, who's died, he wasn't a very religious man. But part of that is always in play. But I just knew there's no other way I can say it.
And what a gift you have. And I told you this at the UFO Contact Convention. I'd mentioned this to everybody, and I'm going to say it again. And I'll say it many, many more days ahead. I live long enough to do it. When you speak, Michael, every sentence is a message. Anybody that has the privilege of sitting to listen to you, even the viewers tonight, of course, when you talk, there's a message in every sentence. If you really listen, I mean, it puts us on the edge of our seats. And I saw people at the UFO Contact Convention in Houghton Lake there doing exactly that. I mean, the room is everybody practically eating popcorn, just going, oh my God, can't get enough of what you have to say. Everything, every word, every sentence, there's a message. So thank you for that. I want you to know that. Definitely, you said it was a calling. You realized that at a young point in your life. Clearly, you are doing what you are meant to do. So thank you for just being you.
Thank you, Michael. That means the world to me. It really, really does. And I think my theater training. I'm sorry, Dale. I will be quiet. I just wanted to say that theater training.
No. This is your show. We're just here to smile and look good for you.
No. Listen. No, I went to New York. Well, you're doing that. I went to New York thinking I was going to be like Denzel Washington or something, and I wound up going there, going to seminary. But that training as being in front of people, getting over a message, I just use it in my ministry because the church, in the best sense of the word, is theater. And if you can get in front of people and get that message to them, that's a big part of ministry, and so it just transferred over.
And that is so true. How one thing that you've taught and you bring it over, and I mean, it's you can see all that when you're up there speaking, like how well you present yourself and how captivating the audience is by your words and the story you're telling. So with that, I just want to take a brief second because we've got quite a few people watching us. We have Michelle Lavelle watching. We have Jackie
Michelle,
from
Jackie.
Black Moon Paranormal's watching. Mary Beth said, "Hello, Mary.
Hey,
Yeah.
We'll see
Mary,
you tomorrow,
we just
Mary."
talked. Yeah, I
Natalie.
talked to Mary a couple hours ago. She has a wonderful podcast.
Oh yeah, Mary.
Sweetheart of a lady.
Very,
Yes.
very sweet. So yeah, it's like it's so. How did the whole experience or thing happen for you? Now we're gonna get a little bit serious here. So we love the fun loving Michael, but we got to know like the story behind
How did it start?
Yeah.
Well, it started like this. I was not. I was raised in the African American Baptist tradition, and with all that comes with that. And it just stopped working for me. I started studying existentialist philosophers. I started studying metaphysics, psychic phenomenon, those kind of things. So I was on this journey, but I didn't want to get rid of. I didn't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. I'm a man of the West. I've been educated in the West. Um, so Jesus meant a lot and still does, just in a very different way. And so, but again, I was moving away from the religion of my parents, if you will, and having some psychic phenomena. I was on a journey, but I knew that those things that were happening, they weren't spirituality itself. Those things were some of the tools that could come along, but I didn't want to mistake the two, even though the ego did get in the way in some things. At the time, I was a younger man. So I go with my girlfriend at the time, who later became my first wife. We went to Mexico. We went to see the pyramids on the Yucatan there, in Chichen Itza and Tulum. And again, let me be clear, no Star Trek, wasn't even into Star Trek at that time, moving away from the Baptist tradition, um, going through that walk. Go there, these pyramids blow you out of the water. You just, where are they getting this information? The Mayans, wonderful civilization. We come home to New York. I lived in New York for almost 30 years in Manhattan. I was invited to a party, December 28th, 1989, give you some context. So Sandy says, it's cold. We got off at JFK. I'm staying home. I was invited to a party. We both were. I want to go. I want to show off the tan. I'm feeling good. I want to glow too because they're freezing their what's off in New York. And I'm just coming back from Mexico, man. I want to glow. So I go,
Sure.
no alcoholic beverages are served, but I'm a deviled egg freak. And I probably had too many of those. Deviled eggs. Laughed, joked, talked about it, went home, caught the subway home. I don't know to this day whether I just felt the presence in the room or I had to get up to use the bath. I don't know. But when I turned around, there was an individual who looked like this. Now, they didn't have the robe on. I had someone make a Buddha out of the
Yeah.
person I saw.
Mhm.
They had
Okay.
on they had on a jumpsuit that looked like Reynolds wrap. I don't know. You may not remember this show. There was a show called Lost in Space many, many,
Oh
many,
yeah,
many
yeah.
years ago. Yeah, and remember
Yeah.
they had that it looked like Reynolds wrap.
Yeah.
And that's what this individual had on. At the foot of my bed, maybe 4 feet tall tops. Sandy did not move. Now, I don't know whether she couldn't move, or she was just as scared as I was. I mean, I know now, but she couldn't move. So I I just can't, the fear was off the charts. And so I looked at this individual and they looked at me, and I pulled the covers up. I got in the fetal position and pulled the covers up over my head. That's
Don't
how
blame you.
scared I was. Now, but the person, I'm going to use he had a blue aura, a blue light, cobalt blue, lapis blue, and over top of that light was my whole room was lit up like I was in Times Square. Now I'm on the 15th floor of the Excelsior Hotel, 45 West 81st Street, between Columbus and the Park. Building is still there. Sandy still lives there. Um, so, and I feel like I'm outside. That's the only way I can put it. There was a temperature change, and I hear this whoosh, like the wind was blowing. And I finally get the courage to pull the covers off, down. Nobody's there.
Wow.
Sandy, I wake her up. My good friend today, we have a great friendship. She didn't say, "What are you, a nut?" She just, as a matter of fact, when my latest book came out last year, I sent her a copy, and she said she relived it. Because I talk about the book. She said, "I remember that night, and I remember there were like these beings in the room, these shadows, but for some reason I just felt so drowsy I had to go to sleep." I said,
Right.
"You never told me that." So anyway, for about 8 months to a year, on the full and new moon, so we're saying twice a month, these people came to see me. They would paralyze me. Um, they did a lot of work on my chakra because I felt all this electricity here. Maybe that's why I can captivate, or I don't know, but I know they worked on that for me. I would have all this electricity going through me. They would show me pictures in my third eye. They showed me a picture of a past life as a very high-ranking member of the Catholic Church, like back in medieval time. And at that time they showed me an event that did happen. I was speaking. They had the suit on and everything, and I wound up getting that. It was weird. And so, they kept coming, and all of a sudden, I got by on less sleep. My hair and nails grew physiologically; those changes grew very quickly. I didn't need a lot of sleep. I just felt more intelligent, is the best way I could put it. All of a sudden, I had to study Reiki and become a healer. And now, again, it wasn't a magic wand. I was already on this spiritual journey, right? When the student's ready to teach her peers, so I had to do the footwork, but the most important thing was that my heart opened more. And by that, I mean, I had to look at my fears. I had to, and I was going to therapy and stuff too, because I had to go into a support group. A lot of post-traumatic stress. Okay. It wasn't just kumbaya. Even now at 65, I'm home by myself now. Um, I, it's hard for me to turn the light off in my room, when I'm home by myself. Not as bad. Used to be really bad. Like the light would keep them from coming in. Of course not. But that's part of the leftover, because it wasn't that they hurt me. It's just, except one time they did by accident. But they're just so bizarre. I saw a reptilian
Oh
twice.
wow.
Wow.
Okay, in my apartment in New York. Um, uh, I don't know. I mean, just came in, touched me, told me not to be afraid. Beautiful looking back, beautiful man, because he was a man, because his voice. Built, had on a wife beater, stood on 2 feet with a tail, walked right in my bedroom, right through the wall, and left the same way. Oh, didn't open his mouth, just telepathy, don't be afraid. Easy for him to say. Touched me with those claw-like. Um,
For
that
sure.
um, I'm getting it all in now. So then on July 4th, now, but I'm still, I'm in therapy. I'm going, to a support group in New York, and I'm writing and I'm speaking, but I'm not completely out, as it were, until a publisher said, you got to put your big boy pants on and you got to tell people you're a minister. People are having these experiences. They want to know you've got information, talk. So I did. On July 4th, 2013, I had a blood clot. Um, Huge. I'm a swimmer, so I'm muscular, but I'm thin. And my right leg had a blood clot from the ankle to the groin. It was like LeBron James. I wish I was built like that, but I'm not. And um, I have a lot of friends who served in Vietnam, and I remember them telling me about their experiences, sleeping in the foxholes, going on patrols, incoming, outgoing, mortars, that kind of thing. And I don't like fireworks. And I was going every year with my ex and my daughter because they loved it. But it was just a hassle. They didn't start till 9:30. You had to get there at 7. You're so close. It's people are sitting on whatever it is, your blanket. It was just I'm an introvert. I don't like a lot of people around me. So, but I did it, being a good dad. So they canceled it that day at night. I was so happy. So um it was such a bad downpour, and it sounded like artillery, to be honest with you. And I remember saying to myself, this is what my friends were talking about. They had to sleep through this, maybe
Right.
3, 4 hours if you got that much. And I felt that there was somebody in my room. And when I turned around, and this is crucial, this was at Eastern Time, 9:50, July 4th, 2013. This person came, a Nordic person. I turned around. He was in my room. He had on a cowl like they wore back in the 16th century or something. Had a rope belt, built. I mean, this brother was ripped. You could see his muscles through the robe. Again, it's heart attack time. I'm looking, and he puts his hand out, and an apple green light comes out of the palm of his hand. And I remember seeing it because I had gotten up like this in the bed, and it hit my stomach. I watched it hit my stomach, but I didn't feel any pain. And then he just dissolved, like his molecules just separated. When I looked at my leg, the swelling was gone.
Wow.
The blood
That-
clot was gone.
Wow.
So what I did was, I don't know if you know Preston Dennett. I think you do. And if you don't know him, you should have him on your show. Anyway, Preston writes a lot of books, but he wrote 2 books on UFO healings. He was in
Okay.
California, though, so I called him, but it was 10 minutes to 7 there, 10 minutes to 10 on the East Coast where I live, and he must have been out. I wound up telling him about it. I told my ex and my daughter, and they both did this at the same time. They both took an in breath. They said, they healed you. I had to go to the doctor and explain to them why I needed to be taken off the medication. I was injecting myself with Wayfair, and they put me on Coumadin. And they were not hearing it. And of course, I wasn't going to say this handsome man came in and hooked me up.
No.
I just said, I put them on the defensive because they were right. They were like, look, you were just here 10 days ago. We stuck your finger. We took the blood out. Your clot should still have been there. And, I finally said, look, you guys are people of science. I get science, but I can't explain it, and neither can you, but it's gone. Aren't you happy? Why can't you be happy for me? Something happened that we can't explain. And
Right.
that put them on the defensive, and they finally they let it go. They took me off of the Coumadin, even though I still have circulation problems because of it. Last but not least, in 2019, I spoke at the University of Knoxville at a UFO conference. Stanton Friedman was there. Of course, Travis is everywhere. Travis was there. I think Kathleen Martin was there as well. Steve Bassett was there, the usual. And it was memorable for me because the first time I ever got a standing ovation at a UFO conference. So it was memorable for me. But anyway, you meet people, they buy the books, you talk, you exchange numbers. Some people you keep in touch with, some people you don't. But this woman who I met there, she said, she said a lot of nice things. And she said, I told a friend of mine about you, and she has a message for you. I said, okay. She said, it's serious. This woman is a lawyer and she's a psychic. And I never had that that combination. I don't know what kind of jurisprudence she practiced. I don't know what kind of law she practiced. Anyway, she said, I got to tell you something. This has come to me that I see praying mantis beings around you. And I said, okay. I mean, what are you supposed to say to that? She said, no, no,
Yeah.
no. She said, I'm very serious. They're around you. Have you ever seen them? I said, no, I've seen Nordics. I've seen the gray white people, because some of them aren't gray. They're kind of like a whitish chalk white.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
I said, my friends in Europe always see Nordics, but I haven't seen them. She said, you're going to see one within 3 days. So I said, okay, thank you. It's been wonderful. And thank you.
Sure.
I wasn't rude. I mean, what are you going to say?
Right.
So my first night, I was home alone. And, I just felt something. But I said, come on, Michael, it's auto suggestion. Nobody, just go on. The second night, because she said 3 days, like Easter. The second night, I started when I'm walking through the apartment, my hair starting to stand on end. Now, my brother was murdered back in 95, and sometimes he comes, and I know when he comes because he was a heavy smoker. And when there's cigarette smoke in the house, I don't smoke. Then I know my brother is visiting. But it wasn't that. The third night, I was like, boy, this is kind of weird. But I tried to go to sleep. I was trying to meditate, but I was meditating in bed on my back to try to get down to that alpha state and go to sleep because I keep weird hours. I get up early. And I was just getting ready to doze off when I felt like someone get on my bed. And when I opened my eyes, this person was there, the praying mantis.
Wow.
I called the woman and told her that she was a very talented psychic. And basically, they were just on top of me, looking in my face like this, and then they just left. They just kind of dissolved. So those are my experiences. The one time I was meditating and this person came, an Arcturian, didn't have the bindi on his forehead, but had the
Yeah.
big like that. I have a friend who, a very talented sculptor who lives in Nevada, and she makes these for me. When I say, let me tell you, I describe them, and she makes
Oh,
these things for me.
well, she's very talented.
For
She is.
sure.
Her name is
To such detail. I mean, just watching the different shows and stuff like that when people are talking about their experience and they have those sketch artists come in and they draw what the person sees. Some of those, like, yeah, I've seen those on some of the shows. So,
Yeah.
just wow, we've got a whole lot of people chiming in here.
Who's saying that? I thought it was
Which one?
Natalie. Go, let me see. Oh, I got to look at a comment here because I want to bring it to your attention, Michael.
Was it?
Okay, hold on. Sorry, 1 second. Where'd she go? Hold on, bear with
Well, that
me.
one was up here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on. Natalie Olson, Reverend Carter,
Oh,
help me heal
Natalie.
my thyroid.
Hey,
Can you tell us
Natalie.
about that if she doesn't mind?
What did she say?
Reverend Michael, help me heal my thyroid.
She's so beautiful. You know, I didn't do it. I sent the energy. I sent the Reiki. The Reiki's a little stronger with me because I call it space Reiki because every time they came, my energy was different. And one day, an older woman came to me and her husband. I remember because he brought a gun into my apartment, and I said, "Brother,
Mm,
you can't bring that here." What? I remember him bringing a gun, and I said, "You got to put that back." Anyway, his
Yeah.
wife had his wife um, walked with a cane, and
mm, mm,
she came to me for some energy work, and after 3 times, she didn't need the cane.
Right.
So all was well. And then about a month later, she called me and she called me a liar and some other things that my mom never named me. And I said, I don't know. I said, I'm not understanding. Didn't it work? She said,
mm.
yeah. She said, of course it worked. She said, but you lied to me. You told me that was Reiki. She said, that's not Reiki. That's some, I'm not going to use the word she said, that's some from those space people, you know. And I said, well, she said, don't say anything. She said, I've been doing Reiki probably before you were born, so I don't want to hear it. And then she lightened up. But I just call it that because
Mm, mm.
it's hard to explain. There's
Right.
something it's kinesthetic. You got to feel it. And I
Yes.
remember when I was a chaplain, I would do it. One woman had to was going to get her leg amputated. She had gangrene, and I gave her some energy work, and they only cut off her little toe. But it's not me. It's the energy coming through me. But I almost lost my job because I asked her not to tell anybody,
Right.
and she told a doctor, and the doctor told my
Yeah.
boss, and
Yeah.
you just have
Mm.
to be careful. Now I
Well,
just say it's laying on of hands. I'm just going to say a prayer over you. When in
Right.
Rome, you have to do what the Romans do.
Right. Absolutely. No, I mean that's a very compelling
Well,
journey.
thank you,
You
Natalie.
were, yeah, no, that's an absolutely amazing journey. Like from all that experiencing. So, what led to the being part of the Ancient Alien shows? Like, how did that all come about?
I wrote the book. And if you read the book, you notice I think I may have mentioned one. Well, at the very beginning, I touched on the initial experience in Mexico.
mm,
Um, and in my last book last year, I put all of them in. Listen, brother, it's providence. Einstein says, God does not play dice, if I can use that word. Um, I was in my office. I was the diversity officer. I was a chaplain, and I got promoted to being the director of diversity at this hospital here. And I got a call. I forget the brother's name. I mean, they changed producers really a lot. But he said, "This
mm,
is so and so from Prometheus Productions. Is this Reverend Michael Carter?" I said, "Yes." They said, "We have your book here, Alien Scriptures, and we'd like you to come on the show." And I said, "Sure." And that was in 2014, and I've been on off and on. Usually, I do two or three times a year. I either fly out to LA or uh, they used to shoot in New York. That was nice. I stay in the same time zone. About a month and a half ago, we did something in Boston, um, and I just finished doing a. Larry Fishburne is hosting a show called History's Greatest Mysteries, and they're doing something on the Phoenix
oh,
Light. And
Yeah.
I was just in LA about a month ago shooting that. That's supposed to air, um, I think, sometime in January, if I'm not mistaken.
okay.
Nice.
I don't
So
watch,
Michael,
I don't watch the shows, but my
Yeah.
friends like to hear about it. I mean, I don't watch Ancient Aliens, and I don't,
mm,
I mean, I'm not trying to be. I mean, my life is full, but it's a kick. I mean, I love it. They've treated me well, but
Yeah.
uh, and I probably won't see Larry Fishburne's thing either. But it's nice to know those shows are on. They're changing the way people. I mean, Ancient Aliens has been on for 15 seasons, and I
Yeah.
didn't know. Apparently, Larry Fishburne is a big UFO fan, and so
mm,
it's just out there now. People don't laugh at you anymore. The government
mm,
is talking about it. So
yeah,
we're
right.
really living in historical times.
Oh, absolutely.
So Michael, what I want to ask you, you mentioned your books.
Yeah.
So from first book to the most recent, give our viewers the titles so they know that maybe it's the first time listening to you. They're being introduced to you as well, and they're going, I really like this guy. I want to know more about him. I want to read his
Okay.
books. And of course, also after mentioning your titles, where can they get them, please?
Okay. First book is called Alien Scriptures, Extraterrestrials, and the Holy Bible. This is my first book, and I use the Quran and the Old and New Testament, or the First and Second Testaments,
Mm,
to talk about that the Bible, these books are really talking about our ancestors having contacts with extraterrestrials and their technology. The second book, which Whitley was so nice to say is the best book written on the subject. He's very kind. I don't know, I doubt if it is, but it's called A New World If You Can Take It, God, Extraterrestrials, and the Evolution of Human Consciousness. I go further into the Bible, but I also talk about people in history, medieval time up to mostly medieval times, that were talking about that we were not alone. Some of them lost their lives, but I put that in there. Then I didn't want this. And you can get everything on Amazon or Barnes and Nobles. Um, I didn't want to get this reputation as the UU. Not, well, I'm a UU minister, but as the UFO minister. And so I wrote two books that have nothing to do with UFOs. The third book is called God Consciousness. It's a 30-day meditation manual. It's called How to Achieve God-Centered Thinking. But they're atheists in here, they're Muslims, I'm taking the wisdom from all these traditions, and
fantastic.
each day of the year, each day of the month, you get an affirmation, an explanation, and then you have to go through the day trying to use the concept.
Hmm.
Then I wrote a book called The Metaphysics of Spiritual Healing and the Power of Affirmative Prayer. It's
Mm,
based mostly on like new thought, talking
mm,
about manifestation, talking about quantum physics, talking about not looking at this energy, if you want to call it God, as Santa Claus, and instead of saying, God, please do this, God, please do that, you say, I'm already affirming that it's already done. I know you got this, and I'm tapping into you. And so I'm not begging you, I'm just affirming and I'm thanking you that this is happening. And then my latest work came out last August. It's called Initiation, the Spiritual Transformation of the Experiencer. It's a guide for contact experiencers, for people who don't know or have a feeling they've been contacted. There's some there's a checklist of things in the book that will give you a clue if you have been. There's a section on couples, because there's a lot of data that a lot of relationships break up. They don't survive, especially if one person's having the experience and the other one isn't. Um, I talk about my experiences, and I have other experiencers in here talking about theirs, and we're talking about the spiritual transformation. So no one in here is going to say basically it that it was not a positive experience in the long run. Yes, they were scared. Yes, they had to go through some changes. Some of them had to go to therapy like I did. But
mm.
overall, they're saying it's changed me for the better. I'm a more spiritual person. I care more about the planet, the animal kingdom, that kind of thing.
Michael, definitely. The book, this last book here, Initiation, the Spiritual Transformation of the Experience here. As I'm listening, again, you always have a message when I listen to you. I'm thinking I personally need to get this book. I don't know if you recall, but at the UFO Contact Convention there in Houghton Lake, Michigan, they had a chance for people in the audience to raise their hand and share an experience. And I wasn't sure of mine. It involved sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
It involved a couple other things. I'm not going to get into my story. It's not about me, it's about you. However, what was amazing and cool as my own moment, as my own Reverend Michael Carter moment, you came up to me after, you shook my hand, you introduced yourself, and you said, and I quote, "You know that you're an experiencer, don't you?"
Yeah.
That's what you told me.
Yeah,
And I was like,
when you know, because remember there was a young lady there who said, "How do you know?" It's like being in love. You just know.
Right.
You just know.
yes,
And the
Right.
thing is that when people will plant the seeds of doubt, and you
Right.
got to be careful because our community, that's not the great word. I don't know the vocabulary. This phenomenon, this what we do, it attracts people of all walks of life, but it does attract fringe people because people want to belong. And I'm not going to sit up there and tell people that that didn't happen to you. That's not my place. But there are some people. I remember someone getting angry with a panel I was on um, in Knoxville because they were saying, "Well, how come they don't come to me? How come they just come? They want people want to be." And because I'm always saying, I'm not nothing special. You don't have to have someone from another galaxy come to you for you to have spiritual growth. I know deeply spiritual people who haven't had NDEs or OBEs, at least that they haven't talked about them or any of that, and they're just their essence is just so they're just full of love, and they haven't had these. So it's not a competition, number one. And number two, I'm not on any head trip where I'm very special and I've been chosen. No, that's not about that. But what it is about is for me, is trying to get people prepared for what's coming and to say that you are more powerful and more glorious and more loving than you've been taught to believe. And you can tap into that. I was talking to Mary, my friend, and her lovely stepdaughter, and we were talking, and there's in the Vedic tradition, the Hindu Vedic tradition, there's two types of knowledge. And of course, we have the study of epistemology, and it's very Western. And we were laughing because Mark Twain said, "Don't use a 50-cent word when a 25-cent word will do." But that's what we call it, ways of knowing epistemology. However, they say, the Vedic tradition says, there are two forms of learning. The first of knowledge, the first one is acquired study, reading, that kind of thing. But the second type of knowledge is there's knowledge that you acquire and there's knowledge that you become. And you want to have the knowledge that you become, that you live it,
right.
that you carry it with you, that you become it. So you're walking through the world because that's wisdom. But in our culture, we confuse information for wisdom. And it's just like if I know that if I don't take care of myself, I'm going to get sick. And people may say, "Michael, come on, come on, come on," and I'll go, "Oh yeah, I know." But to know and not to do is not to know. I mean, how many times have you had people, "Oh, God, oh, I know that, I know that." But if you know it, you're not doing it, then you really don't know it. But when you become that wisdom, you live it. You live it. And that's where you want to go because that's what the spiritual life is all about. It's the inward journey. It's the journey, as the Course in Miracles says, it's the journey without distance. You're going inside. And Mary and I again were talking. I was drunk in a bar, and it sounds like a joke, in Albuquerque with this Apache brother. I was at a I was at a chaplain's conference, and I remember, and he was talking about, it was a pity party. Yeah, well, we were slaves, and yeah, well, they took our land. And I think it was after the third beer, we just started laughing, and the third pint, and he said, "You know what, Michael? The longest journey that you ever take is from here to here," and he pointed to his heart. And that's the journey that we all have to take. This is not about lights in the sky. And yes, they walk in your room, and some people get anal probes, and some people have sex. And it's not about that. I mean, it happens, but it's about there's a planet here that needs healing. And what are we going to do to make that happen? Not just with with the animal kingdom, with each other. So it's bigger than just lights in the sky. It has to be a change in consciousness. Einstein said that you can't solve a problem with the same state of mind that started it in the first place. And that's what we've been doing. And if you want to keep on getting what you're getting, keep on doing what you're doing. So to me, it's bigger than lights in the sky. It's about a shift in consciousness so we can join this galactic federation, so we can move beyond Republican, Democrat, trans, black. This, I mean, nobody, they don't even think about these things, these star people. It's like, what, y'all are still all arguing over that?
Yeah.
We got to change the way we think, or else we're going to destroy ourselves. And the earth has been, we've gone through this before. It'll just be cockroaches here.
Yeah. And I heard something similar to that watching your program the other night. I cannot remember the name of it, but they were saying just that, like, they're here, they've been here all along.
Yeah.
And they're more or less just sitting there watch us screw this all up. And that's the reason why they're not here on this planet with us, is because, for one, nobody could handle the fact, would be able to handle them if they were here. It would be, people would be dropping left and right due to shock. But it was quite interesting watching this program, because they were just saying what you were just saying, like, you know what, we need to get past all this hatred towards one another. You like this, I don't like that. For that, I hate you. You know what? We need to move beyond all that. We need just to, and the common phrase is, if we could spread love as fast as we could spread hate, this world would be a much better place to be living in.
Yeah.
And so yeah, everything you're saying, totally agree with. It's like, during your talk back at the UFO contact convention, you were talking the whole thing about angels and aliens, which was really fascinating. Me growing up, like, grew up Christian and learning the Bibles and angels and everything, and now knowing what I know now because of people like you and Deb and RJ and all these other amazing people I'm meeting in this world, I'm crossing so many bridges of knowledge. And like you said, the knowledge is where it needs to be, because it'll get us a lot further in life. But the whole alien and angel things, that speech you gave was truly amazing and blew me away. It made me really think about everything that I was thrown at school, how I have to believe, and this is the only way you believe. And now it's like, no, I can't anymore. And
yeah.
I always wanted I meant to say thank you after your presentation that day, because you really opened my eyes to a whole new thought process, to where I needed to be, where I want to be. Really, it's where I want to be.
Well, first of all, thank you. And like I stand on the shoulders of other people who did the same thing for me. Dr. Barry Downing, who I was supposed to call him earlier. I haven't. He wrote a book in '68 called The Bible and Flying Saucers. Morris K. Jessup, who died under mysterious circumstances. He wasn't a clergy person, but he wrote a book about it. Reverend Virginia Brazington, right down here in Asheville, North Carolina. We can go on and on. C.O. Turnage, a woman who died much too soon in Texas, wrote a book. She was more of a Zachariah Sitchin disciple, but they got me thinking about it, and some of these, I know I've met all of them, but yeah, if you look at the Bible and I say anywhere you see angel, put extraterrestrial, put star person, just don't say alien. I don't like that word, but
Right.
and
Yes.
it makes more sense. And I'm not saying angels don't have wings. I just, but the Hebrew word is, I think it's melech. It means messenger, envoy, ambassador. I think our ancestors were um, trying to tell us that these people flew. I mean, because if there's a God, why would he, she, it need a ship to get around? It just doesn't make sense. But if someone believes that, then I don't want to step on anybody's toes there, as if I already haven't. But it's not intentional. It's just making me think. Oliver Wendell Holmes said that once the mind is stretched beyond its dimensions, it can never go back. And I think a lot of people don't want to go where this will lead them because it just blows everything out of the water. You got to rethink what God is, who God is, if there's a God. You got to rethink: was there a God who created us, or were there gods who created us? If you think Jesus is the Son of God, did Jesus die for just earth people? If you believe that, and sin and salvation, did he die for extraterrestrials too? I mean, you got to start thinking through everything you believe. And
Yes.
so it's easier just to say, I'm not feeling it.
Right.
And that's okay.
Right.
But for me, in this lifetime, I'm searching for truth. I'm searching for that kind of wisdom, and so I don't mind doing the emotional and mental gymnastics that it takes.
Right.
You know.
Well, like I said, I can sit here and talk to you for days and hours, and because I mean,
Well, we should do
I
it
truly
again. We'll do it
believe
again. We'll come back and do it
Absolutely.
again.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Love to have you back.
Oh yeah,
yeah, we'll
no,
do
I
it
mean,
again.
no,
Cool.
but by all leaps and bounds, like I said, from the moment you sat down and talked with us for the 5 minutes you were graceful enough to get us at the UFO contact. I told Michael John right afterwards, I'm like, I like your energy, your passion, everything about you attracts the right people. And I truly mean that. Everybody comes into my life, there's always a reason. And I think, and I always want to say thank you for everybody
Thank you.
who's gracefully like has been guiding me along into bring me more knowledge for that. But so where can somebody go and see one of your next talks? Like where's Reverend Michael Carter gonna end up next?
Well, I got to tell you, I don't know as far as UFO stuff. I want to get there sooner, but RJ and Deb invited me back, so in September, all goes well. If I don't preach UFO stuff from my church, I do bring it up from time to time, but that's not what they hired me for. At one time, they tried to get me fired because of it.
Yeah.
However, if you go on, the services are streamed. You can go to YouTube. You just type in um, Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Shenandoah Valley, or you can put UU Church of Black Mountain, North Carolina for short, and it'll come up. The website will come up, and you can watch some of the sermons. We cover all kinds of topics that are really, really fascinating. I try to make it because in my church, man, you may see a pagan sitting next to a Christian, sitting next to a Buddhist, sitting next to someone who doesn't know and doesn't care. So the challenge is every Sunday is to try to have a relevant message for everybody, which is
Yeah.
a challenge, but it's beautiful. And I'll be speaking this Sunday. I usually speak second, third, and fourth Sundays. I'm off the first Sunday of the month. So that's
Okay.
one way. And just keep watching Ancient Aliens. And if you want to catch the America's greatest, I mean, history's greatest mysteries, I hear it's a wonderful show. The Phoenix Lights episode should be on after the first of the year.
Okay.
And maybe by the time we come back together, I'll have something else to tell you. But after COVID, this was the first talk I gave since COVID because people weren't gathering for all the obvious reasons. But hopefully there will be more live. I love the TV. It helps pay some of the bills, but I love the live audiences because of guys like you. You get to talk. You feel that energy. It's that give and take. You shake a hand. You make a friend. In TV,
Yes.
it's you hit your mark. Don't look that way. Just look there. And then you're done. So it's two different mediums.
Well, it's going back. You're trying to find the right term. The right term. Someone corrected us. I believe it was Miss Candace Isaacson. Welcome, Candace. We met her at the UFO Con. Yeah, you definitely know who she is. Candace, thank you so much. Galactic family is the term that we use for all of us involved in this community, if you will. There's the para family, which is the big round where para family. Right. There's so many cool names. Michael, I want to say thank you so much for your time. This has been an amazing show. We've had so many people engaging on here because of you. You're, like Dale was saying, you're that captivating. You have that charisma about you. People want to watch you. People want to talk to you. Thank you. You said what you wanted to say, what you needed to say, what you had to say. You said it. And we love that. I'm going to wrap up real quick here and let everybody know we are here tonight on the eve of what is this? Out in Dundee, Michigan, the Old Mill Parafest. I had to think about it. There's so many now. Sorry. The eve of the Old Mill Parafest, Dundee, Michigan. We're going to be live tomorrow, grabbing some guests that are here, some names, shaking babies, kissing hands, as I like to say. We're going to get it done. Again, to everybody that's viewed, everybody that said hello, and engaged with Reverend Michael Carter and Windsor, Ontario's own The Paranormal Voice. Thank you, everybody. And in the meantime, and in between time, what do we say, Dale? We'll say it together. Happy hauntings.